of Silicon, guaranteed to not put a gigantic strobe light with our logo on top of any buildings.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. Right, so this is actually our second go-around at this, so I'm just going to junk the news for the week.
Yeah. We basically went through it. I think the only thing is today's your birthday. Happy birthday. Woo!
Look, if you want details, go listen to, this week's episode of MSP.
Yeah. Apologies.
With that,
Twitch is being dumb.
Or OBS. We're not sure.
Yeah. Something is broken and I don't like it.
Yeah. Anyway, so welcoming this week to the broadcast is our good friend John from MangaGamer.
Hello. It's good to be back again.
Always good to have you. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
That's good. Right. So let me see. I believe this time on the menu, we've got 2 visual novels that are out and a bunch of things that just got announced, if I'm remembering correctly. So the first game that we want to talk about. So we've been having a bit of a dispute about what the name of this is.
I was curious as to why. Well, I was curious as to why you referred to it as Uchikoi, and the section on the website is listed to Uchikoi, but the actual title is Uchikano. My guess was that it was something about the localization from the Japanese name.
Oh, yeah. So it's part of the Uchikano series, and Uchikano was the Living with My Girlfriend one, and the Japanese title for the third one in the series is basically the same start. But the last part is instead of Kanojo, it's Koibito, because now you have 2 lovers. We use Uchikano as the official title because it's part of the series, and then the English title is Living with My Lovers. Uchikoi was basically the internal title that we were using when we were talking about it, because that's the shorthand in Japanese.
Yeah, we had a small confusion over looking for the thing on Steam when we were trying to load it. When we were trying to make sure we had the games for this week.
Yeah, Steam, they allowed us to do this one, the third one in the series on Steam, but for not the first 2 for whatever reason.
Right. It could be any number of things, like as you've mentioned in the past.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so that's the big highlight, I guess, of this one. This is basically, is it a menage a trois?
Yeah. It's the main character ends up getting with both of the 2 lovers in this one. Chika and Yuri, they're both pretty inseparable. They're both sort of in an indie band together. They're working at the restaurant where he meets them. In this version of the series, he gets injured while doing something with them, and that is what leads to these 2 being the one to sort of move in with him and have the slice of life of living with him, because that's sort of the Uchikano series as a whole. That's kind of its big draw, is it's a slice of life where the main heroine, in this case 2 main heroines, live with the protagonist, and it's all the fun and excitement and events of having the girl actually live with you. The first one is my girlfriend, that's the childhood friend. Second one is little sister, it's his little sister. and the third one is the two lovers who I were his coworkers at the cafe.
And these are all the same male protagonist?
Yes, they're essentially different worlds. It's not. They're different.
Okay, so not necessarily actually sequential events.
No, they're all separate in that sense of either one of the three occurs. Basically, they're not all. They're not sequels or anything like that.
Are there more of these?
Not in this series. No.
At least not yet.
At least not yet. Yeah.
Like,
Argonauts, the company that made this series, has gone on to do a couple other series, but that is potentially a future discussion.
probably, given how these things work out. So are there any mechanics to this one? Like, do you have to keep up a certain rating? Do you have to give gifts to the girls? That kind of deal?
No, the Uchikana series is pretty straightforward. It's pretty much a visual novel. I think there are still a couple choices for a couple scene variations, but it's pretty straightforward. It has, like I said, each one is sort of dedicated heroine. So, or in the case of Living with My Lovers, there's the two of them.
Indeed. And that sounds like an improvement over the second one. Because I'm assuming that sister thing isn't talking about a nun.
No.
That'll probably be the fourth installment. Right. Anyway, so yeah, I suppose we get to the part of the title / broadcast where we get into everyone's favorite subject matter. How spicy does this one get?
It is explicit. There is going to be explicit content in it. It's very romantic, very lovey-dovey. I would say pretty vanilla.
Like, pretty vanilla?
I mean, you have sex with both of them at one time. That's a little bit of, flavor added.
Yeah, some chocolate, I guess. Strawberry, whatever part of the, or maybe chocolate and strawberry, whatever the part of the Neapolitan ice cream you want to use here.
Yeah.
Still, we're not really venturing into mint chip territory.
Yeah, you're not going to find like BDSM or anything like that in this game.
Yeah, let alone Rocky Road or Daiquiri Ice, right? But let me see here. And what sort of production values are we talking about here? Fully voiced. Like, does that include the protagonist Kun here?
It's the main heroines. The main heroines are voiced.
About what I would have expected. Like, and it's kind of hard to talk about this one given how straightforward it is. And really kind of what it says on the tin, isn't it? It's like, I suppose I should ask, what sort of slice of life adventures does this trio get into?
So it's like while he's recovering from the injury, that sort of brings the three of them together, living with them. And basically, that is sort of what sparks him to learn more about these two women, their dreams and goals for their music career that he didn't know about necessarily in the other games when they were just his coworkers. So that actually plays a big part in sort of their story. Is there them trying to sort of make it big? But I should say this isn't like idol music. This is more like actual like guitar and not electric guitar either. That's sort of I don't want to say jazz because it's not really jazz, but it's that much more mellow style. It's not really like they're the music that they are trying to do is not like pop idol or rock band. It is very much more subdued.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. It's like usually when we're talking about indie bands, it's like a rock or a punk feel.
Yeah, but no, that's actually not the type of music that these two girls are attempting to make a name for themselves with.
So you mentioned that these two are alternate versions that have appeared in the series before, correct?
Yeah, so like in Living with My Girlfriend and Live with My Sister, they're basically just his coworkers at the cafe that he works.
And that's about all they remain in those.
Yeah.
So I suppose this is their big catapult to the spotlight, as it were.
Yep. Yeah.
And let me see. Are there alternate endings to this thing?
I don't believe so.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward game. Each one in the series is.
I see. All right. Okay. So I suppose that I'm about to do it for this one. So moving on to visual novel number 2, and lit. And that is spelled.
So this is the title for this is actually LKYT. It is an acronym. What it stands for is a spoiler.
Oh.
It is revealed once you have cleared the first route in the game.
Oh.
So it's pronounced as an initialism?
Yeah, it's LKYT.
Yeah. Like, isn't the initialism is the one that's with the letters, and the acronym is the spell that, the forming a word?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, acronym would be, form an actual word. Sorry.
Thought that was the case.
Yeah, an initialism is the one that's pronounced as individual letters. I had just anyway.
Yeah, anyway, not to get hung on linguistic semantics.
Yeah.
But, so what's the premise of this one?
So, this one is, it is a dark fantasy that is, it's written by the same scenario writer who did Maggot Bates. It's not quite as dark or bloody as that one, so people don't need to be too worried about that. But it is very much it is still a dark fantasy. It is still, there's a lot. It is much more of a drama. It is boys' love title, and the main character, Tusku. So it is set in this world where the Seaside Nation is there, where their village is called, and these demons come forth from the Shadowlands at sort of their village borders, and every so many years there's sort of a outbreak or surge of these demons where they rush forth and try to conquer and destroy the world. And so it is the duty of the people in this village to fight and stop the demons. And they they also have supernatural powers that is actually heightened by the bonds with each other. So they generally fight with partners, and in order to sort of fully unlock the maximum potential of their powers, they have to form sort of the strongest bond. The idea is to open themselves completely, to trust each other completely, and in doing so, then the bond is strong enough to unlock their full potential, to face these monstrosities that rush forth. The time of the surge has passed recently, so the village is supposed to be in sort of its period of relative peace at the moment, but there are omens suggesting that it is about to come again.
It sounds very battle shonen-y.
Yes, but much gayer.
Yes, I suppose so. So, although given Jujutsu Kaisen,
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So, is this another straightforward visual novel, so to speak?
It is similar. I'd say this. I believe the story structure is more similar to Maggot Baits, where there is sort of a main route, and then wait, no, this one actually does have. I'm sorry, my mistake. This one does actually have several different romantic interests, and the man that you pursue as your potential bonding partner does actually greatly diverge the story structure, as the game is actually quite focused on the building those bonds and strengthening those relations.
And how many suitor or suited?
There are 4 main partners that you can pursue.
Okay. And what do you have to do to win the heart and mind of one of these guys?
I mean, it's determined by the choices you make. It's still a standard visual novel in that sense.
Okay. And once again, uh, this is kind of a standard question at this point, but must be asked: what sort of level of intimacy will be on display?
There will be full male-on-male penetration. There will be full male-on-male kissing. There's, yeah. Some of the themes that it covers are pretty dark, because some of the characters do not have very nice pasts, but I don't think the actual H scenes are too bad in that sense.
Right. I'll be honest, I was kind of expecting more or worse. Or
yeah, given the author, right?
Yeah.
No, that comes in the storyline.
Yeah. I'm expecting something from the writer of Maggot Baits. More,
Yeah.
But it sounds like toned it down, if only because it's hard to go up from Maggot Baits. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Maggot Base is a pretty high bar in that sense. But no, I mean, this is not a game about Guro. It doesn't have any Guro or that level of hardcore content. It is still very much focused on the relationship. So the H scenes are not very bad, but again, the story itself is dealing with the harsh realities of being the defenders against these monsters that are trying to attack and wipe out humanity. So there is very strong action scenes, and he brings his writing to the fore in those. And again, there are still some very dark themes that are covered with what happens in the storyline and what's going on in some of the characters' past. but yeah.
Right. So let me see here. I think we'll move forward to what was announced. Because there's what I think I saw like there was what 6 games announced the other day or something like that.
So
Like,
I think what you're thinking of is so we recently made an agreement with Shiravun, which is another visual novel publisher, to uh, cover and release several of their titles on our website. So the 6 titles that you're thinking of, they have been licensed, localized, translated by that company. We are retailing them.
I see. All right. Well, I mean, always good that you're helping out others. Given what, but there are still the Otakon announcements that happened recently.
We actually did not go to Otakon this year, but we can talk
Or
about
sorry, sorry, I'm thinking of Anime Expo.
Anime Expo. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting my anime conventions mixed up here.
yeah.
Apologies.
No, you're fine.
Yes. But yeah, the first of which is Hana Awase New Moon.
Yes. So yes, so Hana Awase is it's an otome game developed by Hunex. It is about a young woman drawn into the web of this game, Kasen, which is played with the traditional Japanese Hanafuda cards. And through playing this game, she comes to meet 5 mysterious men, all of whom are elite players, and all of whom guard secrets that hold the power to alter her world irreparably. It is sort of 4 installments, 4 chapters. Each of the 4 installments offers sort of slightly different world with the same characters. Basically, each of the chapters is focused on one of the main male protagonists that you will be pursuing. And as the overarching truth sort of slowly unfolds, the immense scope of the battle being waged through the Hanafuda cards becomes clear, and trying to sort of achieve a happy ending is kind of complex in this sort of series of games, as our translator was very keen to sort of point out that it's like no matter how much you love one of the characters, they tend to not get the best of fates in the other characters' chapters. So
Like, so I guess don't play those chapters.
well, you still want to because of the overarching story that develops between all 4. But she did say it's very emotional, very impactful, and so she actually really liked it a lot.
Oh, I mean, that's
yeah, that is a sort of what is unique about this one is we're working directly with Hunex. They will be releasing the Nintendo Switch version using our translation, and we will be releasing it on the PC.
Now, does Hunex do they have worldwide distribution, so to speak, on the Nintendo Switch?
The Nintendo Switch game will be released on multiple platforms in multiple languages, but they are the original Japanese sort of developers.
Yeah. So, sometimes I can actually get them region locked or
Yeah, the Nintendo Store has different region stores, but it'll be released on all of them.
Okay. Anyway, and so moving forward, we got Beat Valkyrie Ixiel.
Yeah. So this is our latest title by Alisoft. It is the latest title in the Beat series that was preceded by Beat Angel Escalaire and then Beat Blades Haruka. This is the next one in that series. Like the ones before it, it is very much a training sim or a raising sim where you are balancing your time and your actions to train the, in this one, the Valkyries. And so in Beat Valkyrie Ixiel, you play as Odo Tsuguhiko, who believes he's the reincarnation of the Demon King and is waiting for the time when he can fully regain his powers. But when that time comes, he's attacked by the Valkyrie Ixiel and betrayed by his demonic chancellor Bezel, who steals 6 of his powers, leaving him only with the power of lust. Obviously, these powers are tied to the 7 deadly sins. And he learns that Orgrim, Bezel's army, have isolated her from the heavens and using her as a source of power. So this is why the Valkyrie decides to team up with him so that they can fight back against these traitorous demons. And he is able to power her up so she can fight by tapping into his lust powers.
Like, it sounds very lustful.
It has a boatload of sex scenes of all different kinds and varieties and fetishes, just between the different trainings. Part of the training and raising is even when you fight the enemies and lose to them. There's several different loss H scenes that also raise their stats as well. So sometimes it's good to lose, and there's just an absolutely wide variety.
So is this like an SRPG thing, or is this a hybrid visual novel thing?
It is much more gameplay heavy. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like an SRPG because it's like you're not really navigating a map and you're not necessarily like doing like battle map tactics. The fights generally involve using the abilities that you've trained them, so those can be similar to an RPG. But again, the main draw is sort of managing the sort of scouting the town, training the Valkyrie through sex, and that sort of thing.
Like, it kind of reminds me of Sakura Dungeon. Like, I don't know.
I've not played that one.
Ah.
Like I said, the gameplay is very similar to Escalaire and Beat Blades Haruka.
Oh, anyway, we have a few more of these to get through. We must push onward. And number 3 here is welcome to a sexy open world.
Yes.
Like, so define sexy open world here.
So in terms of gameplay, it's still very much a standard visual novel. The gameplay is still very much visual novel. You choose where to go during the day, and that basically decides which heroine you have sex with. And the main protagonist's goal is to get one of them pregnant before time is up. Because in Welcome to Sexy Open World, the main character, Sejima Seiya, has been isekai'd by Truck-kun into the world of Laurentide, and the fancy power that he gets for being an isekai protagonist is the ability to tell when women are ovulating. And so it is his job to fulfill the legendary prophecy that he will be the one to father the great heroes that will actually save the world later.
I'm trying to think of how this ranks on the isekai scale.
I will admit it's a fairly new one for me.
Right, right, but to give
It's
you an
still
idea,
wish fulfillment.
I said
It's
fairly new one.
I'm like, there are some implications there that we won't get into right now. But to give you an idea of how mind for ideas the isekai genre is, there is currently an isekai running right now that stars a sentient vending machine.
Yep.
I've been watching that. That has been much better than I thought it would be. To be fair, my expectations were bottom barrel dregs, but that has actually proved to be decent, surprisingly.
Well, it turns out when you get rid of the isekai protagonists' more horrible qualities, these things actually turn out to be watchable.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, like, it's like, because
can't wait
it
for the
turns out
reign of Truck-kun to be isekai'd soon. Really fuck with everything.
there are multiple ones of that. I'm not even joking. Like, several people have beaten you to the punch there.
Damn.
It's just, I don't think that those have been made into an anime yet. The Vending Machine light novel got made, and yeah, is shockingly wholesome. Not completely. Like,
the open world is pretty wholesome too, just very adult.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying I wasn't expecting the condom machine jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were out of nowhere in that anime.
Yes. Right. So, and finally we got Dead Days.
Yes.
So, something along the lines of Zom 100.
No, actually, I mean, not quite. So the real world still exists. The real world is not ruined. The real world is still there. The four strangers in Dead Days, they all sort of died different deaths of their own, and then they wake up and find themselves with this voice telling them that they have been brought back to life and that they are now going to have to hunt down the sort of specters that sort of live in hidden to the rest of society and kill them in order to continue enjoying their second chance at life. Of course, the person who has granted them this chance is completely dispassionate, and it becomes very clear very quickly that he sort of considers them just disposable means to an end. And as they're sort of thrown into these scenarios against these specters with weapons that may or may not be useful. Some of them are like box cut. One of them gets a baseball bat, and one of them sometimes it'll be things like box cutters, and it's all very sort of mundane weapons. And basically, the only thing they have going for them to help them fight these specters is that they, due to their sort of unique between life status, they can push their bodies well past normal human limits. Of course, doing so more rapidly consumes the energy that also keeps them alive.
Okay, that's certainly a lot.
Yes.
And is this another adult visual novel?
It is. It is.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the side effects of using their powers is it also inflicts a intense lust upon them.
Of course.
Here we go. There's the adult part.
Yeah. I was worried for a second. I know occasionally you do have the family-friendly visual novel, but they do seem to be rarer these days than they used to be.
Well, you know what people buy.
Yeah. I'm like, I figured. Like,
No,
so
it's a good variety is how you keep people entertained.
indeed. So, anything else that is upcoming that you wish to talk about at this point?
I believe that generally covers it for now.
Okay. Well, let me see. We can have you back on the program, say October 11th.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. So, yeah, as always, John, it was good having you on the program and, talking shop.
Yep.
Apology about the connection issues. I think we were having more of those.
No problem.
Yeah, I locally record the interview, so if that is just what you see, then you know the entire recording or the entire live thing got borked.
Right. Well, it's like I think I saw at least two pieces. So probably gonna have to use the local version.
That's why I hit the button.
Good catch.
Mhm.
Anyway, Petty, play us to the next segment. All right. Welcome to the topic of discussion. So this week we are talking about The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Like, I'm aware that we have talked about these in the past. Like, we've talked about a lot, like, there have been times when we've covered the entire Zelda series, but,
Different
that was,
cast at the time.
yeah, I'm like, that was about when, like, Nock and Ogre were working on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a while. And I don't recall if we talked about the Oracle games when they came to the 3DS Virtual Console. And even if we did, that was, once again, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, point is, it's been long enough where we can talk about these games again because they are relevant.
Yeah.
In case you've missed the news, both games got added to the Nintendo Switch Online service.
Yeah. Apologies,
And
no footage. I forgot the switching in the room, and it's a little late to go try and set it up.
it's fine. Given the connection issues, I wouldn't want to chance it anyway.
Valid.
But at any rate, if I'm recalling, I think the Oracle games were announced when the Game Boy Advance section, the Game Boy and Game Boy Color section of the Nintendo Switch Online got announced. I could be mistaken about that.
Yes, they were teased as one of the major coming later things.
Yeah, Tease is coming later. I think they're still trying to get rights issues with Capcom sorted out.
I don't even think it was that. I think they wanted to save some stuff for later.
Yeah, I think it's that because
Could be either or, yeah.
I looked at the copyright screens that they had on the trailer, and it just said Nintendo. So, Nintendo doesn't share the copyright with Capcom here, which makes that doesn't preclude that there isn't some sort of copyrights thing going on here.
Yeah.
But usually when that happens, like Nintendo, will note that the property, or like Super Mario RPG, it's got certain parts copyright Square Enix, or like characters Square Enix, something like that, or with Kirby. Believe it or not, Kirby is only partially owned by Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's actually jointly owned with HAL Labs.
Yeah, Kirby is technically classified as a second-party character.
Joint venture.
I mean, I guess, sure.
I mean, it's like Pokemon. Like Nintendo owns a third of Pokemon's copyright. They own the full trademark. But okay, before we get deeper in the weeds and copyrights and trademarks, we've got 2 Zelda games here to talk about.
It would have been a trilogy, but
but
that would have been way too complicated for the amount of coding power they had at the time.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, the big problem was with the linking. Because
they seem like one of the popular Game Boy version 1, version 2 games that took after Pokemon, but these are actually 2 games with completely different stories that are sequels to each other in either order.
Yeah.
And if you are playing a linked game, that is playing one after transferring a password, or I think you could do it by link cable from the other one.
You had to do a password first to set up the link mode.
Okay. Anyway, then some events are different. You get some cameos from Impa and Princess Zelda, and then at the end of the game, you get a very small final boss thing. Featuring the only actual appearance of Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the complicated thing. The complicated thing is actually largely post-game, which is that there are side quests that when you complete them, you get a secret that you can transfer to the other game. And then when you put them in the other game, they unlock an event, and you complete that game and you get a ring. And then when you get a ring, you go to the ring shop, and they give you a secret to put in back in the original game to get the ultimate reward in that game too. Or variations of that.
Yeah. Like, I know one of the big rewards was the Master Sword. You have to keep going back and forth.
The Big Goron Sword, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was the Master Sword, and then Big Goron was
the Big Goron Sword.
Valid.
I think the Master Sword you just get.
I know you don't get it like regular gameplay. You still have to do link mode for it.
Yeah.
You only get a level 2 sword for regular gameplay.
Yeah. Which actually, that's another thing that's really fun about... Because these games were, as Adam alluded to, developed by Capcom.
Yeah.
They are...
Specifically a subsidiary of theirs called Flagship, which was, before this, renowned for writing scenarios for various Resident Evil games and such. And then would later go on to develop a couple of Kirby games.
Oh.
So yeah, quite the career for this developer. Yeah.
But yeah, these games were... Sorry.
It's fine. Now I know many out there wanted these games to get a full-on Link's Awakening style remake on the Nintendo Switch, but I'm not surprised it didn't happen because
it still could be possible. It's just not happening anytime in the next possible year.
Right, but it's like because it's 2 games.
Yeah. And while they share a lot of assets, they don't share most of them.
No, and it's also, this isn't like Pokemon or games that aspire to be Pokemon, in that the 2 games are vastly different.
Yeah,
you got your Link, you got your generic enemies, and you got about half of the items are shared between games. Oh, and a bunch of townsfolk NPCs are kind of reused. But you have different bosses, different dungeons, some completely different items, and some items that upgrade in one game don't in the other.
Yeah. So
For
you
example, one game gives you an upgrade to your swimming ability with the mermaid tail. The other game gives you the Rock's Cape for significantly better jump ability.
Yeah, and you can transfer those upgrade items over with the link mode, but
I don't think you can.
some of them you can. You just don't get. It's more of cosmetic than actual.
Maybe the ones I named, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's no deeper water to dive in the game that the mermaid tail isn't in.
Yeah.
And the I don't think you can get the Rock's Cape because I think the overworld in I can't remember which is which.
Same. They're named after two of the goddesses.
Yeah. I don't. But anyway, yeah. But the Rock's Cape. I don't think the overworld in the other one or the world in the other one is designed for you to have the ability to jump over 3 or even more with running fast space gaps.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. It's been over 20 years since I played this, so I could be misremembering things.
Yeah. And another key difference is the how do I put this? The track that each one takes. As in, Oracle of Ages is renowned for its puzzles, and Oracle of Seasons is renowned for its combat.
And Seasons is the one that is somewhat a remake of the original one, at least in terms of the main. Like they started working on that, and then a lot of it changed. But in the end, I think Seasons ended up reusing most of the bosses from the original Zelda in an updated form.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This started life as a direct port of the original Legend of Zelda to the Game Boy Color, but then evolved into something much grander. And general consensus is that Oracle of Ages is the better game. Because
I mean, you can't really say one is necessarily better than the other when they're really like they do function separately, but the full experience is when you do both.
Right, but I think on an individual basis, it comes down to not just the puzzles, but the time traveling mechanic and better characterization.
Yeah.
In that, there are some other characters in Oracle of Ages, like what's his name, Richard?
Rollo.
That
I find it funny because it's my father's name, so I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah, and the Queen, and that is definitely more than what Oracle of Seasons has. It's not to say that Oracle of Seasons doesn't have characters, but they don't have a supporting cast.
Yeah. Also, I don't
not
think
as many of them.
The most of the season mechanic was thought out, other than maybe winter, and that's about it.
The season mechanic is just certain squares. I think certain map spaces, ultimately a decent number, but not all of them, have 4 different versions for the 4 different seasons. And then, like, in fall, there are mushrooms and sometimes leaf piles. In winter, water is frozen.
Yeah.
In in spring, there are thick bushes. So you need to change the season to get past obstacles usually, whereas the time travel one it's
because it's simpler.
You
it feels
do
more
unlock,
fleshed out.
I forget if you unlock. Do you unlock seasons in the Oracle of Seasons?
You do.
So yeah, that's a little bit.
That's the biggest problem of it. 3 of the seasons are so close to similar. It doesn't really matter all that much.
Winter is the one that mostly matters.
Yeah, and winter's like one of the last seasons you get because it is the mostly only real useful one.
But yeah, there's 4 versions of that, and they're not very different. Whereas the time travel one, there are just 2 time travel periods, and instead you unlock different ways to travel between them. First, you can activate portals. Second, you can travel forward but not backwards, and then the last one lets you travel either way freely, I believe.
Yeah, you basically get kind of like the mirror from Link to the Past for the last one.
So yeah, I guess what I've been wanting to say, these games, you can tell that they were designed going forward from Link's Awakening. Like, aside from a lot of stuff looking and feeling sort of similar.
Yeah. I will say Ages kind of feels more like Link to the Past, but that's also more with the time travel mechanic and the Dark World mechanic stuff.
But what I was going to say from that is that because of this, almost everything that was in that game gets expanded on. These games don't, like, they include variations on a lot of traditional Zelda things, but a lot of, like, you don't get just a hook shot. You get a switch hook that lets you switch your location with an object, or you get
That's one of those ones that varies by game.
Yeah, or you get magnet gloves that let you push or pull metal objects, or push and pull yourself to or from fixed metal objects.
Right.
You don't get... I forget, you probably do get a bow and arrow. I can't remember, though.
Yeah, both games you get some form of bow and arrow.
But in one game you get a slingshot to shoot the namesake of the things in Japanese, Seeds of the Mysterious Tree, and that upgrades to a 3-way slingshot. And in the other one you get a seed shooter that lets you shoot on diagonals.
Yeah.
So they have some more interesting items than a lot of other Zelda games, I think.
Right.
Is the main thing I was going to get at. And likewise with the upgrades to the swimming and jumping, because those were already in Link's Awakening, they elaborated on that.
It's definitely one of those, if they do remaster the games, I kind of wish they have like a third game with everything together, but I know that would take way too much development time for a remaster.
Yeah, and like I said, you'd have to either set an order where that one has to be last, or the sharing stuff back and forth would get very complicated.
The only thing I could really think of is if you completed the game on linked mode, that game would unlock. Like if they did a compilation thing for them all. There
are two other things that are related, which are that there are... this is one of the first games that has gacha elements, in that there are gacha seeds that you can plant and then come back to later and cut down the nuts, and from those you get prizes, which can just be minor items for the game, or they can be magic rings that give you either stat boosts or abilities, or just cosmetic changes, some of which are fun.
Some of which are insufferable, but yes.
And that's part of what makes it such a bitch to complete, because they are ultimately largely random.
Yeah, and they would repeat this again in Minish Cap, but that's beyond the scope of this conversation.
Yeah. I do want to play Minish Cap someday, but yes.
I'd say the four Game Boy era games do form kind of... It's worth experiencing all of them to compare how they do things. None of them are perfect, but they all have something interesting. Oh, there's also... This is one of the games that had a... Oh, hey, have you heard about that fancy newfangled Game Boy Advance?
Yep. It had the GBA flag thing where you could get a special ring.
Yep, it just... There's a shop that's always there, but you can only enter it if you're playing on a Game Boy Advance, and they sell, like, a couple of things and an exclusive ring, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to Shantae, although the thing they give you in this game is way fucking less overpowered than the Tinkerbat dance.
Yeah. Well, doesn't Shantae have a different sprite set if it realizes it's on a GBA?
It has a much better color palette, I believe.
Yeah, this one, it doesn't do any of that. It just unlocks the ring shop.
Yeah, visually these games look very similar to Link's Awakening DX. For the obvious reasons.
Yeah, it also looks, damn good, because Link's Awakening DX looks really damn good.
Yeah, they knew what they like. You're dealing with a very small screen. You're dealing with a very limited palette, even when you are able to include more colors on the screen at once. There's still 4 colors per sprite, and that includes black and white.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those that it could only have come out at the end of the Game Boy Color, because it pushed the system hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right, and
Thankfully, I don't think any of the passwords in this game are as obnoxious as the ones in Golden Sun.
I don't know.
Yes and no. It's the passwords themselves weren't as bad, but if you try to do a linked playthrough of it all together, it does get very, 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 very tedious.
Yeah, I guess entering them back and forth would always be a pain. The biggest issue in Golden Sun is that if you want to transfer everything, the password's like 5 fucking pages long.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were both pretty.
Yeah, like I was mentioning on Sunday, somewhere in this house, I have my master code book for my own personal playthrough, and I took a literal entire spiral-bound notebook on codes.
Apparently, because of the way the game was coded, there actually is a set of secrets that will always work.
Yeah.
Because of a multiplying by 0 thing.
Yeah. But yeah, this is also, my playthrough. So it would have my character name, not, Link or whatever the, master code, the codes you decided to want to use for the name.
Yeah, I think those are mostly not for your not for like your full thing, but for like the return codes for getting the item after you unlocked it in the other game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another weird thing that these games did. So, one of the items you can get in this game is a mysterious flute. There are 3 different ways that you can get the mysterious flute. And while they all look the same at first, it turns out they're all different because which one you get determines whether you meet Ricky the punching kangaroo, Moosh the flying bear, or Dimitri the swimming dodongo as an animal to transport you over a certain obstacle. Ricky can jump, Dimitri can swim, Moosh can hover and ground pound, I think.
Yes.
And that actually like fully redesigns a couple of overworld map squares, which is kind of fun. Mm-hmm. There's kind of like a default in the 2 versions, which I think is Ricky in one and Dimitri in the other, and you have to kind of go out of your way to get Moosh in either. Mm-hmm. But that's another thing that gets transferred over with a link code is which animal friend you do meet all of them briefly, but you only get to like keep one and then you can call it later.
Yeah. I can't remember if that's one of the ones you can actually kind of break with the link codes and get the option to use all of them.
I don't think so, because I don't think you have the inventory space.
No, what it is, the flute changes. It's one of those changeable items. It's something that they did start using with near the end of the Game Boy Color Zelda games, where you kind of get a sub-menu on which one you can pick, if I'm remembering correctly.
Maybe.
Because I vaguely remember there are points in some of the maps where you get used to all of them. So
yeah, you get to briefly meet each of them in each game.
Yeah,
but
and
you only get one that you can call, quote unquote, whenever you want.
Maybe it's been a while.
And I think it's the first one that you run into / get the flute for. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've actually played them because I have not upgraded to spending $20-something a month on Nintendo.
Yeah. Only reason why I have it is because me and my sister split the family plan.
Yeah.
Anyway, we do have to wrap up this conversation.
Yeah.
But we haven't even mentioned Subroge yet. But yeah, no. They're good games and you should play them.
Yeah. And yeah, you can play them if you have a subscription to the Nintendo Switch Online basic service.
Yep. these are not gated by the expansion thing. They are part of the basic.
I forgot Game Boy was basic, so yeah, I can try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can go do that later.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that in mind, that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Coming up on the week ahead, if I can get to the right week. So, coming up in about 10-ish minutes, given travel time.
Also, if Twitch isn't on fire, but that's a separate thing.
Well,
I'm on more than one stream at a time, and I have noticed multiples of them being a little bit jank.
Yeah. Duly noted. Anyway, we have a new episode of MSP planned. So look for that. And coming up on Friday, August 4th, we'll be welcoming Alfie Wilkinson of Space Spy Games. He is the teenage one-man development studio, if you will, the solo dev in the parlance, behind the platform game Alien, of which we did a review of. Specifically, I believe that was Golix's game. So, we will be engaging in that on Friday. And coming up on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having impressions of Timeline Walker Dark World and reviews of Power and Revolution 2023, Doomsday Hunters, and Mystic Gates. So until next time, I shall wish you good gaming.